this episode of Huber Syndrome, I'm joined by the Allies to talk Resident Evil. Damiani, is your favorite game of all time Resident Evil 4?
It's up there, Huber. It's definitely up there. It's like one of my favorite games to replay as well.
Yeah.
It's just like, I never feel bad about going back to Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel guilty sometimes because I'm just like, how many times have I played this? How many hours? Should I be playing something else? No, I'm gonna play some more. This is so good.
That comfort food.
It's that once I start, can't finish, or once I start, can't stop until I finish. Yeah.
So Resident Evil, it's a big year. We got movies, we got games, we got a lot going on. I know you always talk about 4, but what is your origin with this franchise, Damiani? Where do you begin?
It's funny you assume that because 4 is my origin. Maybe that explains some stuff.
There it is.
I've told it before, but for those of you who aren't familiar, kind of like Huber loves to show off that demo disc and the excitement about getting it.
Yeah.
I was actually mailed it as a Nintendo Power subscriber.
Sick.
Whatever reason, they probably did market research and like, oh, we've identified people who like these, and these types of games.
Yeah.
And we think we will like that. So it wasn't sent to everybody, apparently. It was just sent to a certain target. And I was in it.
Yes.
And I get this demo disc. And like I'm kind of like, okay, cool, new Resident Evil. I'll try it out. It's free, Of course I'm going to try it out.
Do you remember how it came, how it was packaged, like what that process was?
I was just like I don't remember the box or anything, but like opening up as like a disc. And I was like, I think at first I thought it was the whole game. And I was like, oh, wait, it's just a demo. I was like, yeah, that's cool. It's still cool. It's still cool.
Yeah.
And I just remember being hesitant because I had seen all the other Resident Evils and I was just not drawn into them. I think it was just because I heard like the tank control stuff like that. Even back then it was like these games are a little like they're fun, but man, they're tough to play.
Did you like horror at the time or
not exactly? I don't think I'd really played anything that was remotely like this style of game. And I popped that disc in, Huber. I remember writing to Nintendo because they left like a contact for feedback.
Oh
I wrote
my God.
back like,
okay, I remember this.
I said, thank you so much for sending me this. I'm buying it immediately. And like, I would never have been interested in this game if you didn't send me. And I was like, this game is amazing. Just from the Village demo. It was like, yes.
Yes. That is awesome. And then, so obviously you got hyped on the game. You couldn't wait for it to come out. Obviously, I'm sure when it came out, you got it. Then did you go back to see what the franchise was all about, or did you just focus on 4 and then as time went on you got
Sure. I did dive into Remake. That is the one I did decide to play because I tried 0. I played a decent amount of 0 but bailed on it, but I did play through Remake and I was pretty blown away by that. But I went ahead and picked up for GameCube all the other ones. I picked all for GameCube. So everything, I got everything on GameCube.
Yeah.
And I booted up a few of the others, but I just didn't like the old visuals. And at least with the Remake, the visuals were nice with the control. Like, I could deal with the controls because I was looking, this looks so amazing. I got to play this.
Yeah.
Love this atmosphere. So I didn't really I got frustrated by 2. And I don't even think I touched Code Veronica or 3. I tried 2, and I'd always get frustrated at 2 and bail on it.
So you bail on it, so you play Remake, then 5 comes out, 5 and 6. Like when did you decide to go back to the originals and you're like, yo, I love this?
I played through Resident Evil 2 for episode of, was it Pop Fiction or Games? Forget which show it was at the time, but I actually did a normal playthrough of Resident Evil 2 at that point. And then I started watching, I actually watched videos of just how to beat it after. So help me remind, I just had it up beside me so I could remember what to do.
Yeah.
And how many times I had to beat it, I was just like, yo, I know this game. I was like, I know this game inside out now. Let's go. I forgot it all by now though. It's sad, but
dude, I remember with the hardcore Resident Evil 2, the remake, you helped me through it because it was so intense. It's all about remembering those steps. And which items to get, where to go, when to go, because I always get into the habit of I'm such a completionist, I'll just waste time and ammo. Like, I'll go through a treacherous area just for like a single blue herb and like waste all my ammo and then come back out. It's like, dude, I didn't even need to go that way. That stuff gets me. But Resident Evil 7 then, Damiani, first person, more tied closely to the upcoming Village. Where do you stand on first person Resident Evil versus over the shoulder fixed cameras?
I'd prefer to have over the shoulder third person, honestly.
Yeah, because I know you get like motion sickness. Is that still a thing? Does it get you?
It happens with certain
going?
games.
Yeah.
I mean, it still happens. It also makes it really hard for me to watch other people play first person. That's the worst. The worst is watching other people. I can't do that. That's even worse because I don't know where they're gonna look.
Yeah.
At least when I'm playing, my brain is like, okay, I'm about to look this way, so get ready for the jarry nature of like first person camera.
Yeah.
But like watch someone else
Whipping
is
around.
like it doesn't like that as much. Yeah, I just get like, for me when I play, I just get like headaches.
Yeah.
If I play too long. When I watch other people, it like actually makes me sick. Sometimes like nauseous. Yeah.
Village is coming though, Damiani. What are you feeling? Are you feeling that this could be a Resident Evil 4 situation?
I'm definitely getting. It's making me think that it's similar to RE4 in terms of atmosphere and vibes. Maybe not the way it's gonna play, obviously, but between that the demo we got and just the footage we've seen from the trailers, yeah, it's hard not to feel like RE4. I mean, it has the same tone, same like color palette. Even just like the village, the superficial. It like that village just looks like a modern, fleshed out version of the village at the start of Resident Evil 4, and it's gonna be like insane, like cranked up to 10. It's like, yeah, it's been what, 15 years now?
Yeah.
15, 16 years since Resident Evil 4 came out.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's go. I want to see what modern RE4... Like, this could be more of a modern RE4 than whatever that rumored RE4 remake might... Like, this might actually be the better true faithfulness to the spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, the play event, whatever you want to call it, just went down and they revealed some information about just leaning into the Resident Evil 4 comparisons, leaning into that
crap.
vibe.
Was that today? Damn, I missed it.
There wasn't much new.
Okay.
There wasn't really any new footage, but they talked about just the Resident Evil 4 comparisons and how they didn't shy away from it. They leaned into it, Damiani.
There you go.
They know.
Lean so hard you knock over that wall. Let the 4 flood in. I'm for it.
We are now joined by Bradley Ellis. What's up, Brad?
What up?
My main Resident Evil man for decades. Playing the originals in your house, like at little sleepovers. Playing Resident Evil 5 co-op at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Brad, Resident Evil's anniversary is past us in Japan, but ahead of us in the West. What do you think about when you think about this franchise, man? What does it mean to you?
It's comfy in a weird way, I guess. It's comforting to me, and of course you.
Well, which one do you think of? Because whenever, I have my interpretation of what all of you love, like, because I talk to you all so much about it.
Yeah.
So I always think you love Remake 1 and Resident Evil 4 the most.
I do love Remake 1. That's probably my favorite. 2's really high for me also. Like, the thing I like about 4 a lot is just the setting.
Yeah.
Like, the gameplay's fun, but it's the setting that really sells it for me. Once you get in the castle and everything, like, yes.
What about like the pace of it? You say you love 1 and 4, which are like pretty damn different. Slow crawl through the mansion or action packed in the village. What is it about Resident Evil 4 that you love so much?
Well, with Resident Evil 4, I guess it was just a lot of the first time I played it because it was so different and refreshing at the time. And I mean, obviously Resident Evil kind of continued that trend, so it's not as, drastic when I replay it, but I think its core mechanics are so solid still that you could still go back to that game easily and play it.
Yeah.
I think that game is just like a wild journey. A lot of the other games, you're kind of in smaller spaces, which is great.
Yeah.
But Resident Evil 4, I feel like I'm like going across this whole like city or county or something. I don't know. I feel like I go real far. Like
Yeah.
that game goes places.
That is a good call. The scope of it is
Yeah.
pretty massive when you think about the earlier ones. Yeah, and Code Veronica, you know, going to Antarctica.
Yeah. Oh,
But,
yeah,
like,
definitely. Yeah.
But yeah,
like
you're
riding in planes and shit.
Yeah, you're so right with 4. Just like the village and the castle and the like factory area.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you think about the story of Resident Evil as a whole? Are you invested? And what
Oh,
do you
yeah.
want to see?
I love it.
What do you want to see going forward?
I blame you for that. I think you got me much more interested in the story than I probably would have on my own.
Yeah.
Because, you know, just you talking to me about it for years kind of got me invested in it. What do I want to see from Resident Evil? I don't know. I think the direction they're going with 8 or whatever, and just like Chris as this bad guy, apparently, who knows if he is, I think that's really great. Anything that brings back, you know, the old cast, I love. But you can't do that every time.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping something builds up with Chris. Like, I need to see what Chris is like more now.
Yeah.
After post-Wesker.
Totally.
You know, we got a little bit of him in the Not a Hero DLC, but not really a ton, you know?
Yeah.
It almost didn't feel like the Chris we were used to, I guess.
Yeah, and 6, you know, he's just drinking with peers. You know,
Yeah,
he's
he's, like,
unhinged.
Alcoholic, yeah. I want to see what he's like now that he's reformed.
Yeah.
I need to see, like, who's going to be, like, their next villain they're going to build up to for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, is Dimitrescu going to be a one-off, or is she going to be the
I
face of this franchise for a while?
I think she'll be a one-off. Mm-hmm. But, you know, there's someone pulling the strings, obviously, like every Resident Evil game
Yeah.
in the background.
Last question. Why have you not cosplayed as Leon S. Kennedy?
I don't know. Probably just have to buy a good outfit. It's probably a lot of money. Do you know? I don't want to do a shitty one, I guess.
Daniel Bloodworth. How
Yo.
you doing?
Scrambling.
EZX is upon us. We are sandwiched in between the Japanese and the Western 25th anniversary for Resident Evil. So now that I've got you here, Bloodworth, I want to know what this series means to you.
Yeah, I'm definitely not as deep into it as you guys have been. I didn't have a PlayStation when it originally came out. Didn't get one until later. So didn't really even get into Resident Evil until the GameCube remake.
Okay.
That was my first Resident Evil.
Were you interested at all in the originals at all, or was it when the remake was revealed and how good that looked, that's when it caught your eye, or were you aware
Yeah,
of it
I think
before
it was that, and it was also just, you know, I just like the early days of Resident Evil, like I was still kind of in this mode of like I don't really like the idea of like video games getting more violent and all that kind of stuff. And
Okay,
so,
all right.
the remake came out after I was like an adult, so there's a little bit of a difference there in just kind of how you perceive things.
Okay. Love it. So it's too violent, dude. Scenes of explicit violence.
I don't even think I knew what it was about. Like I
Yeah.
just, you know, it was just like you see people talking about how gory it is or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't even know.
That is excellent, Bloodworth. So then GameCube rolled around, and then what happened, man? Walk us through your history with this.
But yeah, so Resident Evil, like, yeah, I think it was just like one of those things where like it just looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the game, even now, it holds up pretty well. Like the
Yes!
way that they managed to do the character models and the pre-rendered backgrounds together, and then it didn't have the classic tank controls. It had that modified version to where you can just like hold the button to walk forward, and so that kind of helped me too because the old school tank controls always felt like what the heck is happening here.
I love tank controls. Resident Evil 4 Bloodworth, big moment for this series. Brought in a lot of new fans, changed up the way this series works. Did you fall into the Resident Evil fever and the Resident Evil 4 mania when that went down?
Oh yeah, I mean I played that at E3 and that was
Yeah.
you know, it was just, you know, again it was insane. So yes, I basically went from Resident Evil 1 to Resident Evil 4, and didn't, you know, never played 2 until that remake came out. So
Yeah.
like I said, like it's been spotty, but like I really like loved both of those games.
Yeah.
And, really enjoyed Resident Evil 5 as well.
Did you play with a co-op, buddy?
I don't think I did. No, I don't think I did. I mean, I'm sure I maybe played some of co-op at GT, but not like the whole game or anything.
Then I've failed my responsibilities. That's what that means, basically.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
And then like when they brought Resident Evil 4 out on Wii, I was surprised by how well that actually handled.
Yes. Because you love motion controls.
I played the crazy light gun games. I was really into that light gun revival that they had going on.
Darkside and Umbrella Chronicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, some good lore in those, Bloodworth. Good shout out, man. I don't think I've mentioned those once in this entire month. Good on you.
Yeah, because the thing that was great about those games is that so when they were reviving all of these light gun games, they were bringing a lot of them, like, what was it, like Ghost? Wasn't Ghost Recon, Ghost Squad, Ghost. Oh man, what was it? I think it was like Sega or something. But it was a classic, like, well-known arcade light gun game.
Yeah.
And then you get it home and it's like, oh, this game's over in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to keep replaying it and replaying it to unlock all this stuff, and it just feels like it would take forever. Like you're like grinding out to get these other unlocks, and like I'm not gonna play this game 100 times to do this. But then the Umbrella Chronicles comes along, and it's a full-length game. It's got all kinds of stuff going on. It's got the strategies with the bosses. It was really, really cool.
Absolutely. And you just get to replay those games in a new way. Really appreciate those games, but good shout out. Village is upon us. We've had the remakes recently. Where is your hype level now? And, I feel like with Resident Evil 4 kind of having that moment, it feels like Village is poised to have a similar kind of moment. Do you agree? Are you going to find the time to play it? Where's your head at?
My head is, number one, I still need to go back and finish 7, because I had started 7 and then, I don't know, the work sidetracked me at some point.
Yeah.
So I need to do that. But I think what's interesting is 7 was a game that we were very uncertain about, right? Like, it didn't feel like it had anything to do with Resident Evil, and it was first person, and just all of these strange things that they were doing, VR being a focus. And so now I think it's interesting because 7 has proven itself. It's shown that, like, hey, this is actually really good. It's well designed. It's got the Resident Evil hooks in it.
Yes.
And now 8 is going to just, take that even further in that direction. And so, I'm very curious as to what they do, how they link things together, as well as, these crazy environments and vampires and everything else. What the heck is going on? The Maiden demo was just really, really well done.
Nice, Bloodworth. Any hype for this is a crazy year for Resident Evil? Any hype for the movie, the anime, or the TV show, Bloodworth?
No, not at all.
Ian Hink.
Michael Huber.
I feel like you love Silent Hill more than Resident Evil. Is that fair to say? Is that a fair assumption?
I love not really. I love them both equally in different ways.
Nice. What do you love about Resident Evil, Ian?
It's cozy as hell. It's got
You're not the first one who said that. That is excellent.
It's got vibes for days. And it's just, I don't know, it's just so much fun. And, like, it's the perfect mix of camp and horror and just, like, fun and zaniness. It's I don't know.
Yeah, when did you get into this series, and which ones stick out to you the most?
Michael Huber. I first fell in love, I may have told this before, but I first fell in love with Resident Evil.
Yeah.
At a carnival.
What?
In my hometown.
What?
Before I had a PlayStation 1, I saw the big tall box with the guy on the cover going like, for Resident Evil 1, and it was at a ring toss, and I spent all my money trying to win Resident Evil at a ring toss. And obviously I did not win because those things are rigged.
Yes.
But,
damn it.
But that's what lit the fire in my mind, where I was like, Like, that was the first PlayStation game I saw where I was like, I gotta get a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta get a PlayStation, I gotta get Resident Evil, I gotta, like, trick my parents into letting me get a game called Resident Evil.
God,
And then when I finally got it, it just felt so good.
That
It was
is
amazing.
awesome. Do you remember the first time you booted it up after all that build-up? Was it like
Yeah, just-
nighttime or?
I think it was during the day. I assume that we had driven from the like mall back to, because back then we didn't have a Walmart or anything in my town, so we had to drive to like Maplewood Mall to buy games. But you get to look at the, instruction manual the whole time in the car, which is just a hoot.
The best.
But yeah, dude, I mean, just the sound of starting that game up, the logo and stuff coming up, the guy saying Resident Evil, I remember just being like, whoa. And then, I mean, the memory I have of the first shot of that lobby, and then of course the zombie turnaround was just like, it was the most like graphically amazing thing I've ever seen, like I had ever seen, you know?
Something about it like turns around, it cutscene, and then you're back in control and it stands up, and there's just that moment of like, oh shit.
Yeah, and like I had never played anything like this before, so it was nuts.
That is awesome. Yo, Maplewood sounds very pleasant.
Maplewood Mall, dude. That's where I went to the Suncoast Video and bought all my anime DVDs as a teenager. $30 a pop for like an episode or two.
I know. I fell down that trap with Dragon Ball Z. So much money.
Oh my god.
$30
Yeah,
for
I
like
had-
3 episodes.
Yeah, I think I spent like $1,200 on anime DVDs because I had a summer job and didn't have to pay bills. So
Let's go.
Anime bills.
Anime. Village is coming up, Ian.
Yeah.
What did you think of 7, and what do you...
I've tried 7
Yeah.
a couple of times.
Yeah.
I did the demo. I played it once a while back. I think Sophia and Omar and I were like handing off
Yeah.
on like Omar's PC linked to the projector or something like that.
Jolly.
We got to the Big Scissors boss
Yes.
and got annoyed and stopped.
I think you can like duck. You can like duck under the scissor attack.
Okay, but then yeah, so but now I started in preparation for 8 Village. I started it again.
So you're playing 7 right now.
But it's well, I don't have a lot of time. I'm constantly
Yeah, you got time. It's 2 months away. We got time for this.
Yeah. So hopefully, but it's just too damn scary, Huber. This first person, it takes the cozy vibes down a peg.
The freaking sound is what gets me. And they're like, yo, is someone walking above me? Is someone walking below me in the other room?
I don't know how you play these games with headphones, because I'm just like, I need that little bit of distance,
Yeah.
you know?
And VR
But yeah,
was kind
7,
of...
I'm worried.
VR made it more scary, but also like a little less scary, because it's like the little bit blurry with the VR for me. You know, I kind of get like a little bit of the motion sickness going a little bit, but at the same time, VR obviously just like being in the mansion. But
I mean, VR of weirdly like the third person games in VR, I think would be incredible.
yeah,
Which sounds kind of strange, but they're a good VR third person
heck
games,
yeah,
really good ones.
yeah. Revelations
So-
on 3DS.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, Village. What do you want from it?
To be able to get through it without getting too scared. But I mean, like, I played the demo and I was really scared in the little dungeon, and then as soon as I got like up into the house,
Yeah,
the fear went away.
because
It
you
was
were
like,
at home.
I'm at home in a haunted vampire woman mansion. Like, this is
Yeah.
like I grew up in that,
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, then it felt comfortable again, which is what Resident Evil weirdly is supposed to feel like to me.
Perfect.
Because I grew up falling asleep to Nine Inch Nails and my brain is wired backwards. So
Love
Resident
it.
Evil's cozy as hell.
Don Casanova stepping out from behind the screen into the
up, people?
foreground.
Yeah.
How goes it? Every
Good, good,
time, every single time you're on camera, Don, I need to praise you and just say thank you for everything you do for Syndrome, man. I love you.
I love you, Huber.
So
It's
much,
such a,
Don.
it's
So
an
much
absolute
love.
pleasure, dude. Serious, dude. For
Oh.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you. But today we are here to talk about Resident Evil. It is the year of Resident Evil, Don. We talk about it all the time, as you know, on Syndrome. But 25th anniversary.
I know. I think I looked. This is like the 4th or 5th episode, or 6th maybe episode this year already. I'm like, oh man, we should restart that counter.
I know, dude. We gotta bring it back. But I would love to know your earliest memories and what you love about this series.
Yeah, I have very, very strong memories of a couple of Resident Evils, but the first one being my first and strongest. I didn't get the game immediately when it came out. I don't remember the timing of exactly when it was, but I think maybe the first two were already out when I got the first one, but I played the first one first. And what was special about it for me was when I got a PlayStation. This was the first time I was able to have actually the console in my room. Like, we always kept the games. Yeah, we always kept the systems in the living room, so my brother, sister, everyone could play, blah, 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 whatever. We just always played out there. This was the first time PlayStation I had a system in my room, which means I could play at night, but, a solitude. And it just happened to coincide with one of my strongest PlayStation 1 memories, Resident Evil, when I got that game. And I would stay up late, Hubert, lately in my room, and I had such a strong memory, complete darkness, playing that game, and absolutely, terrified. I remember it, other than seeing, The Shining when I was way younger than I should have seen it, and even, The Thing I think I saw as a little kid. There's a couple of horror memories from my life when it was, it'll never leave me how strong that was. And Resident Evil 1 was one of those memories, playing late into the night over and over and over. I remember one of so many moments, all the classic moments of the games, but one of the funny things about it to me was the loading with the doors,
Yeah.
At the time, I had no real concept or knowledge that was a loading thing that was happening. I thought that was just part of the game. And so that was what, the doors loading was never a point. I was always fixated, something was going to happen. And, I was just at that point naive in that way. Yeah. So it was but it made it great because it was every second of the game that took so long for the door to open and the camera to zoom forward and through the blackness to go to the next room. I was always thinking that was just part of the thing. And it's just being terrified, I could never let that controller down.
I love that. And, Dawn, dude.
That's where it began, yeah.
I know, I'm sure multiple of these videos exist, but something like game trailers you did with all fatalities, the Resident Evil doors, dude, the montage of just every door opening.
That's a neat idea, actually. Yeah,
so sick.
That would be a good one. Yeah. I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's a nice idea.
So, it sounds like you were there early, which is funny, Don. Something I've noticed is this franchise has so many entry points, but back in the day, back in those days, it didn't feel like people got a game the day it came out like they do nowadays. Nowadays, the hype cycle is so strong and so dialed in that it's clockwork, dude. Right at 9 p.m. everyone's getting the game. And I love just hearing all the ally stories of my neighbor had it. Yeah. I got a GameCube and I got this launch game, or I rented it. Just all the different ways that people played this franchise.
And 2 is the same way. I played 2, then I got 2 after 1, and I really enjoyed it. And then 3 Nemesis, I never owned for sure, so I know I played at a couple of different friends' houses and stuff like that, but that was where the first 2 I was pretty solid on. Nemesis I kind of just casually played, and then I got into Code Veronica pretty heavy because I was going over to my friends. I didn't have a Dreamcast, but my best friend at the time had a Dreamcast, so I'd play all the Dreamcast games at his house, and Code Veronica was one of the ones that we played a lot, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was different. It was there was a polish to the graphics. It had that little bit of that Sega, I don't know, to me at the time, that's what it just had that Sega look to it, of the smooth sort of.
Smooth and clean, for sure.
Yeah, there's something clean about it.
Smooth and clean.
Something, yeah, I think it did feel very different in that way, and a lot of it was because of the look. and I remember getting stuck in that one in ways that I hadn't gotten stuck in the previous ones in Code Veronica. I remember
It
being
gave me some
confused
trouble.
at certain parts. Yeah,
For
so
sure.
so that one was tricky, but I
It
had a lot of
is.
fun. Mainly playing it together too with a friend was like awesome,
Yeah.
good times. So that was how it went up until that point.
After that, obviously, huge transition to Resident Evil 4 and Over the
Yes.
Shoulder. Did you
So
did
four,
you dive in?
Yeah, 4 was is definitely my favorite and the one I played the most, other than 1. And I absolutely loved 4. I loved everything about it. I mean, I loved the switch to even though I loved the classic Resident Evil,
Yeah.
I just loved how they implemented the different camera in 4, the control, the weapons, everything about that game. I mean, there was a large period of my life probably where that was like my number 1 game period out of anything.
Yes.
I was really in love with 4, and I just loved the scope of it. I mean, I remember thinking, out of so many times, there must have been 5 or 6 points in that game where I was like, this is going to be the end of this game.
This
And
is
it,
the
like,
final boss.
and it kept going, but in a good way. It was never like, are you kidding me? This is still going. It was like, this is incredible. It's blowing my mind. I mean, I remember even when I got to the lake, I was like, they're going, it just went in so many unexpected ways, I guess. I thought it was all just going to be, when I got to this village, I was like, this is where it's going to be. And it just kind of, even the cliffs, everything, so many little, just the areas they entered, it ended up feeling a lot bigger than I expected it to be. And even the kind of goofy game like the, what's he called? The merchant, that
merchant,
appears
yep.
all over.
Yep.
Like you think of that as being a real kind of video game type of thing, but I don't know why within that world, the way they had him, it was always like,
Dawn,
I just
yes.
believed it, dude. And every time I met him, I was like, he was part of the world, and I loved it. Every time I would run into him, it was always such a surprise.
Dude,
and it's
I'm
like,
replaying it right now, Don, and it's so obvious, but like his VO.
oh
That
yeah, that's
voice
probably,
actor, man, his delivery of just like, what are you buying?
yeah,
What
yeah.
are you selling? Just
So classic.
iconic, dude. That delivery is so good. So here we are, man. I mean, you were there with
Yeah.
1. You played all these fixed cameras. You even played Code
Yeah.
Veronica. You're there for 4. You're fully caught up still. Resident Evil 5 and 6 and maybe even some spin-offs. What happened after 4, which, as you said earlier, was one of your favorite games of all time?
5 like didn't appeal to me at all,
Co-op
man.
in
I
the
don't
day.
know what.
Co-op in the
It-
daytime is a huge change.
I don't know. Yeah, the location, everything about it, like I don't know what it was, but for some reason it never even hooked me. 5 and 6 are kind of like little holes for sure in my
Man.
RE experience.
Yeah, it's just co-op. Like you know how much I love co-op. I absolutely love it. But I'm gonna speak from the old days of walking into a store and buying a video game. You walk
Yeah.
into a store and you buy a co-op game and you take it home. It just feels different. Like you can't
Yeah.
engage with it on your own terms. It's like you don't own this thing entirely. It is tied to another human being as well.
Yeah.
Lucky for me, that human being was Bradley Ellis.
Yeah, the best
So-
human being who could possibly be connected in that circumstance. Yeah, for sure. That's good times. I didn't have that. I didn't have my Brad Ellis, but it was that, but it was also, I think, some of the things, something about 5 and 6, I don't know, the scale of the story, even though I didn't quite understand just the way it was presented in marketing, it had grown to this, like, I don't know, it was just something. The first one is such a small setting. It's like drama. It felt like you're watching a horror drama. And this, even going up to 4, kind of felt like that, where it sort of felt like you're somewhat in this tight, and something about the scale got so big. It almost felt like to me that 5 and 6 were more like, okay, now this is a blockbuster movie as opposed to a small, intense horror drama. And something about that element, just like I wasn't able to get attached to it, even though I probably love them,
For me, 5, obviously I had Brad, so there's just that bond of being able to experience my
man.
favorite
Yeah.
franchise with my best friend, which at the time I remember was like such a big deal. I was like, Brad, dude, this is like first time playing this, dude. We get to do it together. And then
it
just
doesn't get better.
the story, obviously Wesker and all that. I was so like invested. But then we get to Resident Evil 7 and 8, which are like I keep hearing that 8 is very reminiscent of 4. So I associate upcoming Village with 4 and 7
Yeah.
the most, even though I haven't played it. I just keep thinking of those games. Did
Yeah.
you play a lot of 7, Don? And what did you think about
7 I've played the least of all of them, if you can believe that. I know that's hard to believe. It just was a matter of, I don't know, there was too many the horror genre in general for games and even movies has probably like become a lot less important to me than it used to be. It used to be my mainstay, you know, centerpiece to like one of my favorite genres. But it just for some reason over the years has appealed to me slightly less. So yeah, it was just not that I wasn't interested in 7. I played the demo and I played a little bit of it. I got not very far in the game. Maybe I was 20% in, not even, but it was an excellent game, no doubt about. I actually loved what they did with it. I loved the
Yeah.
vibes, the setting, everything, and it was truly kind of like brought back a lot of the horror in an intense way too, I thought. So
Back
it
to
freaked me out.
basics.
It was just a matter of like there were so many games it was competing with for
Yeah, of
attention,
course,
and it was a
always.
matter of like that particular thing wasn't just hitting my vibe at the time, and so that's and then you know it's a story of being on the backlog type of thing of
I'm-
like buried in 50 games that I also
Yeah.
want to play, you know. But there's no doubt what I did play of 7 I really did like a lot, and then the Maiden demo I played and I loved it, obviously. So
Village is coming up. It's next, the
Yes.
next chapter of this franchise. What
Yeah.
are your hopes and dreams or expectations for Village?
I love it. I mean, I'll be 100% honest, I don't prefer first person. It's not quite as exciting for me as like if I'd see something that is truly
Like a remake
you know,
2 or 3 style.
yeah, exactly. But having said that, everything else about the game really appeals to me, especially this just connection, even the visual connection to 4. I mean, it's like the color palette and everything related to the village, when they show the village and the castle, just those gray tones and everything, that makes me feel like I'm in 4 again, you know?
Gray tones, dude. Yes.
I love the way that it, like the vibe it gives me, and then and playing the Maiden demo. I mean, it's freaky, you know. It for sure is freaky as hell. It's just there's no doubt about it. So I'm pumped. Hopefully I'm going to be able to dig into it. I hope I'll have the opportunity to.
Any final thoughts on this franchise, Don, that you want to mention?
I'm happy for you, Hubert. This is such good times. I mean, anytime you love a franchise as much as you do, and then to be celebrating an anniversary that's being recognized by you know, with all this content, new stuff for it is always especially special. So it's just a nice time, and I'm happy for you, and I hope it's wonderful. I know the game's going to be great. I mean, there's no doubt it's going to be really good, right? So we've seen enough of it to know that. So,
Yes.
yeah. Cheers.
Benmore! Top 3 names to yell at full volume. Benmore.
Ooh, yeah, Hubert, you've got a good name too. So we're a little spoiled, I think.
Love it.
Hubert, screaming Hubert is always very satisfying.
I love when you scream my name because there's like so many different reasons for it. Of like,
Sure.
Hubert, you weren't paying attention. What are you doing? Or like, Hubert's here. Let's go. It's like,
Yeah,
depending on the
that's
situation.
true. You can convey a lot of emotion with how you pronounce Hubert. That's a good point.
But Resident Evil turns 25 this month, Ben. We are celebrating this franchise, and I'd like to ask you kind of your earliest memories of the series, kind of when you got into it, and what you love most about this franchise.
Oh man, that's a really good question. Well, growing up, outside of rare exceptions or playing at friends' houses or playing demos, I wasn't allowed to play M-rated games.
Yeah.
But I would get PSM and they would talk about like how amazing Resident Evil 2 is and all this stuff. And I would like go to Blockbuster and I would see that Resident Evil 2 cover and I was like, I need to play this. And eventually, I don't think it was my first Resident Evil experience. I'm trying to think of I don't know what my first Resident Evil experience was. It might have been Resident Evil Survivor. I rented that. And there's a giant tarantula immediately in that, and I was like, nope, can't handle it. But eventually I got a GameCube, and with the GameCube I got 2 excellent, incredible games, Pikmin and Resident Evil Remake.
Nice.
And then my love kind of blossomed for there. I eventually got OG Resident Evil 2 on N64, got that, played Resident Evil 4 on GameCube, loved that, and so it kind of blossomed from that point on.
Ben, I love that because there's so many different entry points for this franchise, so many big moments, and you touched on Remake 1. Can you kind of describe your feeling when you first played that game? Do you remember?
I wish I could still feel the way that I felt with Remake 1. I was genuinely and truly terrified. Like, it was like,
those visuals, man.
yeah, and it doesn't happen as much anymore, but like I think that's why I love horror, and I've kind of become desensitized to it now, but at that point in my life, when I was very, very young, it was like, I am terrified of this. It makes me uncomfortable, but like kind of being addicted to that feeling, like playing it, something would happen. You'd get scared, you'd stop, and then you'd think about it, and then you'd want to play it again.
Yeah.
And so Resident Evil, especially Silent Hill 1 was extremely terrifying to me at the time I first played it. But Remake was as well, for sure.
There's so many different vibes throughout this series, Ben. I know Remake 1 is so beloved, partly because of the Spencer freaking Mansion being just such a great environment.
Yeah.
Is there anything, or like what are some of the things throughout the whole franchise that you love that aren't just specific to one individual game?
I'm playing games all the time, right? And so like I'll think back to a game and I'll be like, oh, I really love that game, but I feel like I've forgotten so much about it, or like, I won't be able to remember like the layout of the areas that I was in. And I feel like just with Resident Evil, you just get so intimately familiar with the places because of how the game is structured, and like slowly opening a place up over time, as you get keys or parts to unlock a puzzle. And so I just, the way you get intimate with a place and how that feels, I think is a big reason for it. And the Spencer Mansion is a great example as well. But I absolutely adore the beginning of Resident Evil 2 as well. Resident Evil has several incredible openings, but the beginning of Resident Evil 2, the way that it throws you in with the city literally on fire around you, and you like... It's a trial by fire, man. It's like hard avoiding damage and getting through all those zombies and just trying to get to the RPD. So
I love that, man. That first shot, just flames. Do you have a favorite setting and or favorite entry?
Oh yeah, it's not an exciting answer, but it's a Resident Evil remake. You cannot beat the Spencer Mansion. I think it is truly one of, if not the best location ever in a video game. It's perfect.
Totally.
I feel like somewhere in the back of my mind, every horror game I play, I'm like comparing the setting to how incredible the Spencer Mansion feels.
Yeah, gold standard.
Yeah, because there's something... the Spencer Mansion accomplishes two things that horror can do really well, right? So horror can be terrifying when it like feels foreign and alien, and the Spencer Mansion definitely has that. There's so many crazy, unbelievable things in that mansion, but it also kind of feels like a lived-in home at the same time. And so it has both parts of that spectrum, right? Yes. Where it feels like a place that like you could actually go visit on one hand in some rooms, but then it also has the like, what is this? This is kind of unsettling. The familiar and the alien, it does really, really well.
Just the feeling of like, it's a believable place, dude. I love that, Ben. Of just like seeing where someone sleeps.
Yeah.
Like like bed sheets ruffled, but like blood stained.
Right.
Like, what happened here, dude?
Yeah, the feeling when you go into a room and you're like, it feels like somebody was just here.
Yeah.
And I think the other fantastic thing about Remake is as you're going and you'll see other STARS members who didn't make it, right? So like, or something already terrible happened to them.
Yeah.
Is it going to happen to you? It's great.
Hell yeah. Village is coming up.
Yes,
taking a lot of inspiration from Resident Evil 4. I keep bringing up 4 a lot on this episode. Where do you stand with Resident Evil 4, and what is your hype level for Village? Kind of a 2-point question.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to sink into hyperbole because I truly think we're discussing like the best of the best here. I think Resident Evil 4 is truly one of the best games ever made, and for as much of an attachment as I have to classic Resident Evil, and as much as Remake is my favorite one, I appreciate, like, so many series try to reinvent themselves. So many series try to modernize, and they dilute what made it great in the first place. And Resident Evil 4 is a different thing, right? It's not the same type of game as classic Resident Evil, but every change that it makes feels valuable and thought out. It's like a game with a purpose, and it's so brilliantly designed. Like, the combat in that game is sublime. Like, all of the options that you have, the intensity of the fights, the way enemies feel like a threat, but if you're good, you always feel like you can overcome them. Like,
Totally.
you could write 10,000 words on Resident Evil 4 easily. You know, like, I'm not able to do it justice in the segment, but I have a lot of respect for it, even though I think in the shift, the gameplay shift, it did lose some of that horror.
For sure.
Yeah.
I like to say it's more tense.
Yeah, it is, and it is
The
incredibly
fear
tense.
of
Yeah.
tension.
Yes, absolutely.
Nothing like a burlap sacked chainsaw maniac barreling down on you as you're reloading.
I think you said it today or yesterday in stream or something. You said, "I am clenched," and that is a good way to describe Resident Evil 4. Yeah, and so when it's less, when I say it's like less horror, it's not even an insult, you know, but because what it loses maybe in like traditional horror or scares, I guess, it gains for intention. Yeah.
So much tension. Oh, I love those bosses too.
Yeah.
The Maiden demo recently came out, played a little bit of that, so we've tasted just a tiny little taste, a teeny tiny taste of Village, and now, I'm trying to be media blackout. I'm keeping it, like, arm's reach while kind of picking up a little bit of details, Ben, and kind of just the thing that keeps penetrating is the comparisons to Resident Evil 4. The feeling of this Village, a little more action-based. Going into Village, what are your hopes and expectations? How are you feeling?
My hopes and expectations. Oh man, that's a really good question. Because, like, I think of Resident Evil 7 just because of the perspective and how the demo felt. And I think Resident Evil 7 is a pretty brilliant game as well. But I think with Resident Evil 7, despite there being some incredible boss fights and so many good encounters, I was definitely sick of fighting the molded by the end of it.
Of course.
And through the DLC. And I don't think 7, in comparison to other entries that we've talked about already, kind of, for that reason, is not as maybe memorable gameplay-wise, just in terms of the creatures and how you deal with them and that sort of thing. So I think from Village, that's kind of what I want to see. I want to be able to go through Village because the atmosphere of 7 is incredible. I want to be just as impressed with the gameplay of 8 and have that kind of continue throughout the whole thing, you know, just constantly escalating as I am with the atmosphere.
Dude, Ben, I'm ready to just, like, upgrade my weapons, dude. And not even upgrade, man. I'm ready to just, like, find the shotgun.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
It, dude. Where is it?
That's so true. I feel like when you get the shotgun in Resident Evil, and I feel like it like happens pretty early, right? Most of the time, there's usually a sense of comfort in that because you're like, this is so much better than this pistol and knife that I have. Yeah, it's a triumphant moment for sure. Yeah.
So pumped. Any final thoughts on Resident Evil as we celebrate this historic moment for this franchise? Anything you want to close with?
Gratitude, man. Like, I feel like a lot of times you get to watch the things that you love just kind of like fade away sadly. And Resident Evil feels like it's like iron hot right now. And the series is like, it hasn't lost any of its bite. and is doing so well and is doing so many smart things. And they've been releasing these games at a very steady clip, and I have enjoyed like most of them tremendously. And so I am so stoked for Village. And I'm stoked for Village because I have so much faith in it, right? Like, when something means this much to you, I think it's easy to get nervous or not like a direction that they're going. But I'm pretty confident that Village is going to knock it out of the park.
Thanks so much, Ben. Brandon Jones! How goes it? Every time now I hear it, Jones. Every single time. I never had heard it, and then you brought it to my attention, and then now every single time.
I think it was like one of the first dudes that came at me.
Yeah.
And it was RE2, right? And
Yeah.
I was just, it was like the first time I heard it, I was cackling, like, oh my God. He just straight up said, yo.
Yo.
And it's not bad. It doesn't like pull me out of the moment. It's just that the whole thing's cheesy.
Yeah. I love
insanity. And so it's perfect.
Brandon Jones, Resident Evil has an anniversary, 25 years. It is a big year for Resident Evil. We got movies, we got animes, we got TV shows, we got games. It's all happening.
Yeah, it's a big year for RE.
What does this franchise mean to you, and when did it capture your attention?
Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation, baby.
Yes.
Not knowing a whole lot. Just didn't have friends that were into it. I didn't have anybody that was like, oh, dude, that dog part. Oh, man, this other is going to, like, so I'm, like, confused. I'm, like, asking my brother, like, what is happening? Like,
so difficult.
And I told you this, our stories just get repeated on all of our shows and everything. But, like, when I put the crests into the wall, I was like, well, that's the game. I totally thought I was just going to, like, walk through the door and there was going to be the final boss. And it's like, wait, what? Now I'm in this new zone and, like, it's so funny how we age and how we look back on things. Like I look back on He-Man and I'm just like, this is not the same show. No way. I watched some fantasy epic when I was a kid. There's no way I saw this goofy thing. And like, when I was like almost in high school. I think I was in like maybe like 8th grade. And I remember like, watch like Chris Redfield smoking. I'm like, this guy's sweet, and like, but I think even at the time, even like with being naive and not really playing a lot of like action games, like I was really kind of Contra-y. Like I played a lot of like action platformers, but I didn't play a lot of 3D stuff. And so it took me a while to kind of get used to how the game worked. And, but I still, even like with all I had to learn in gaming, the moment Wesker appeared on screen, I'm like, this is totally the bad guy. Like, there's no, oh my God. Like, he is so completely the bad guy. And he just vanishes. I'm like, no,
sunglasses at night, dude. Dead giveaway.
And I was terrified. Just terrified the whole time. Just terrified of it's the sounds, terrified of every room, terrified of just how different the mansion was. And of course, I'm a big Batman fan, so I'm getting like Wayne Manor vibes, and I love horror. And so just like, and really something that resounds, and I think like I hear it. I don't know if they created the sound effect or if they borrowed it from like a collection and then other people used that. But there's just something about the specific tone, like roller coaster of the wolves.
Yeah.
Like when you're outside, it's like a beautiful song.
Yes.
What beautiful music they make.
That's so good, Jones.
They just moments like I remember like, and it's we take this stuff for granted now because you look out a window in a video game and it's you can see through it and you can see the environment and stuff. Like Fortnite, you just smash a wall down. But like I remember like seeing the helipad and being like, he's like you like look through and it has this separate shot where he's like, oh my God, I see a helipad, we're close, and I was like, oh my God. Because they would describe stuff that was out the window, but you couldn't really see. Yeah. But just that, like, the whole game was at night, and, like, oh, man.
Just that atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, gripped. I mean, like, yeah, that was... and, like, got through it, I was surprised. I think I was old enough that I didn't really have a lot of issues with inventory management and didn't really... thought the ending was like the coolest thing I had ever seen in my entire life. Just like that like Die Hard moment of just getting the rocket launcher and like the triple shot.
I love the triple shot.
I'm like, can games get better than this? I don't know, And then like a remake comes out, and I was like, oh, they really captured it. And then like went back and played it, and it's like the brightest game I've ever played. The original, every room is just like, whoa.
The main hallway too is so bright, totally.
And so it's funny that like those foggy memories that we have.
Yeah.
These are like early games, but it's still and the cheesy VO and everything. I was just nothing about that game was silly to me. That was as hardcore as
Yes,
action
Jones.
and horror could get
That's-
in video games. Period. Like,
That is such a good point. Like, everyone always talks about the cheesiness, and I don't know, I maybe take it too seriously, or like maybe I was just too young. But the same thing, Jones, where it's just like so intense, hard boiled, not a joke. Like, Barry's got some one-liners, but like, I'm fighting for my life here. I don't have time to laugh.
You know what? I think Jeff Groats, a guy I co-founded GT with, I think he was playing as well, because I remember somebody at school telling me, they're like, you want to know the trick? And I'm like, what? And they're like, when you get the shotgun, wait. They're like, wait till they get real close and then aim up. I was like, whoa.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't stop playing it. It wasn't like I played that game once and then I was
munch.
done. You just keep again and again, and like, how fast can I beat it? How, it was just completely routine, just like going through the motions.
So, Jones, it sounds like you were there on the ground floor. Did you stick with the franchise as the years went on? Or what was your level of engagement?
My I didn't play. It was thank you to the game trailers and the retrospective series that we did, because I got to play like Dead Aim and like Gun Survivor. I played Gun Survivor, but I didn't play any of the other ones. And just like really digging up some of the weird stuff and lore. For some reason, I don't know what it was. I think it was just like the Dreamcast in general. I just missed Code Veronica entirely. Yeah. And then even when it came out on PS2, I just was like, it's old or something. I don't know. It just didn't grab me. There was just something about I don't know, the style of it, or maybe I just didn't think the story was that interesting. And then of course, like I was like, oh, it's time to play it for the retro. And then I'm like, why the hell did I miss this? This is fascinating, you know? Like, and really like maybe some of the most bizarre characters in that, like just really deep-seated, messed up, had nothing to do with biology or like viruses or anything, just messed up people.
Clones, dude. Cloning.
Yeah,
like
just,
early origins of bioweapon clones going on.
This huge Chris Redfield Wesker fight. What the hell was wrong with me? It just seemed like a
that was added, Jones.
I guess
that was added to the PS2 version.
Oh,
that
the
whole
Wesker stuff?
Their whole fight at the end, bonus fight. Yeah, dude.
I guess, yeah, it just, because it seemed like a side thing, and so I just didn't, and I remember, like, because again, my friend Jeff was the big Dreamcast guy, so, like, I was, through him, it's Virtua Tennis and Sonic and all this stuff that I just didn't, I was buying every console, and for some reason the Dreamcast, I'm like, I'm broke, I just can't, like, invest in this hobby that much.
Yeah.
But the Saturn, too, I never touched the Saturn, and he was all over it.
Yeah.
But I remember he was like, look, dude, he's like, dual machine guns, and I was like, I don't know, man, it seems kind of weird.
And then, of course, after that, Resident Evil 4.
2 and 3, I was just, enamored with, and 4 might go down in my estimation as the most replayable game of all time. Like that game, just maybe
Damiani
GoldenEye.
Said the exact same thing, Jones.
Maybe GoldenEye slightly edges it out because the campaign of GoldenEye, like I just have memorized, and like each of the environments is so different, and it's fun when you really know all the objectives and stuff. But it's just like the first time I played through RE4 on the GameCube, I played it and then played it again and then played it again. And after that third playthrough, I was like, do I?
Again?
No, I think I'm good, Because it was just I remember the big thing was the Red 9. When I started that full playthrough, I didn't have the second time. I was still upgrading some of the weapons, but that weapon was done. Like I invested everything into that pistol, and so starting over
heads right off.
And just blowing everything away, I was like, oh my god.
This is why we're here, Jones. This is why we do this. This is why we talk, because you talking about the Red 9 has just sustained me for the next month. I'm gonna live off that hype, Jones. So good.
And just something about just the secrets in the labs and something about like I mean to go back to the first game, man, but like the naked zombies, you know, like getting into the lab and hearing like their feet on the metal clunk, clunk, you know, and like
Iron Maiden freaking
who the hell is Ada, you know, like all these like little seeds that they planted. Even just the little like weird PlayStation fingers, like you know, like on the keyboard, like it was just so crazy immersive. Like they learned, you know, to really put your perspective in it at just the right points. You know, it was like just enough. It was really interesting that even now I still kind of crave that fixed camera.
Yep.
Third person, it's not broken, you know.
Totally.
Like there's like not to bring up GoldenEye again, but as we laugh at the C buttons, it's like whatever, come on now, you know. And so, but going back to that, there's still just kind of a magic to it. There's still something special about knowing where those hunters are, and it's like I can hear, you know, these things
shotgun
jump.
ready. Yeah. Of course, after 4, they went with 5 and 6, expanded on that. You know, add co-op into the mix. 6 is out of control.
Never played 6. Never touched it.
No need.
Maybe for like an hour. I think I got the cars blowing up, and that was it. That was like
7 though, changing it up, first person.
forget
Now
it, yeah.
8 is looking to build on that. Jones, what do you want to see from Resident Evil Village? What are your hopes? What are your expectations?
We can't rush to 8. I need to tell you
Yeah.
about something that was very important to me. 'Cause
Yeah.
I have no problem with grinding, and I'm always about the meta in terms of like acquiring, you know, resources or money or anything like that. Anytime I find a game is broken in any way, and it's like, well, if you just do this over and over again, it's like, well, that's what I'm doing for 2 straight hours. There's one save point in Resident Evil 5 where you're at the docks.
Yep.
And you start and you're in like a warehouse and there's a ladder to your right. And if you
Okay.
go up the ladder, there's a briefcase with a machine gun in it.
Yeah.
And all I did was I reloaded that save, went up the ladder, got the machine gun, reloaded the save, went up the ladder, got the machine gun, reloaded the...
And then sold it? Just kept selling it or what?
Like all night. Like for 3 hours. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even exaggerating. Just nonstop.
Yes.
Because it got the money and I was like, oh, there we go. Now I don't have to worry about cashing in.
And what did you do with the cash? Like buy every weapon, upgrade everything immediately? Do you remember?
It's been so long I don't remember
Yeah.
what I was hunting for exactly. I just remember noticing I died and went back to that save point and I was like, I wonder if that machine gun's still there. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh wait, is this just infinite machine gun? Oh my god.
Jones, in Disney Infinity style, these exploits. When do you cut yourself off? Do you have goals like, yo, at 5 million, I'm out, or like, do you just when it feels right? You're like, all right, that's
when
enough.
I'm burnt, yeah. when I'm just like I can't, you know. But for something like that, when it's a survival, you know, and I was like, oh man, I can just get as many of. Okay. And there was just something for some reason with 5. It felt different because 5 was so supercharged action that it like felt okay if I was like overpowered, you know. I'm like it doesn't, you know. It feels like I need to bring the big guns for some pretty crazy things. And Mercenaries in 5, holy cow!
Jones shouting
I played
Mercenaries out
I played
too?
Mercenaries in 4 a bunch, but 5, like there were some maps I was obsessed with where I would find just that perfect corner and just like, no, I'm in this room and they can't, you know.
Using your grenades, the landmines, Jones, in Mercenaries. RE5 Mercenaries, putting those down. The big
And, dude,
executioners.
how long has it been since RE5? Like a decade? Like 12 years or something? It's
Yeah.
been so long since I played 5.
Yeah.
So long. I watched you and Damiani played a little bit. That was a
Nice.
treat. 5 is so great in co-op for the camera placement on a stream because you can just put the cameras in the empty spaces and you're good to go.
That's so true.
So
So,
okay, I'm sorry. Moving on to 8.
that was amazing. Yo, Mercenaries mode, bring it back. Hopefully it comes back in Village. But Village, Jones, first person.
Yeah.
Hopes, dreams, expectations.
I'm not making any promises in my brain for it being connected to anything.
Even
You know,
though
like,
Chris
I
Redfield is
bringing
there.
stuff. Yeah, well, it's. I don't know. I have a problem when, or I can get a little exhausted when a franchise like leans on someone too hard. You know, when they and it's like I love that Chris is there, but I'm kind of attracted to the idea of Chris like going rogue, man. Like he's
Same.
off doing some mission by himself,
Same.
and like is the BTAS? What's his new crew?
The BSAA.
The BTAS.
But now
now
he's like Blue Umbrella or Neo Umbrella. So.
Right. So he's always just kind of hunting where the action is, and you know, so I could, you know, not to say, you know, not to downplay it for fans, but like if it ends up that he's there's a lot going on here and they keep throwing characters out, I'll be like, I'll kind of be phased out a little bit. Like, I kind of want him to, I don't know. He's been around for a long time. Like, I would not
25 years.
I would not be upset if it was like a Vader situation, if he like, you know, was bad, and then it was really only in the last moment where like you have to fight him at the end, and like
I want to fight him.
He's just like, I'm sorry, you know, like I'd be like, what an end, you know, what a way for Chris to go out. You live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Like, way down with that. Also, like dude, werewolves and castles and gold-plated staircases and chandeliers and dungeons, and I'm good. You know, it's like I don't need anything else. This is fantastic. You know, like like with the story of this lady with her daughters, and like all of, you know, it's kind of the same with RE4. You know, this castle, this village, like nobody goes. You know, it's like no one's vacationing here. Nobody. I like to be in RE4 when they're driving the car and they're just like, what the hell are we doing in this neck of the woods? So again, if it ties back to stuff we're familiar with, it's like that'll make me less scared, because like what'll make me scared is I'm like, where am I? You know, like, and you know, that's what I liked. You know, what was great about RE7 was, and they talk about this in True Detective in the first season when they talk about the bayou, and they're like, it's so easy. In Mafia 3 they talk about it too, where they're like, it's real easy to hide a body in the bayou.
Totally.
It's real easy to get in that swamp and no one will ever know what you did. And so like it's already, you know, Village has that vibe as well, where you're just like, you know,
disappear here.
The secrets are buried. You know, it's like you can discover them, but you're not getting out. You know, you're not finding that stuff. So, and I like Ethan and I like Mia. You know, like I like, right?
Yep.
I like those two characters. So I'm hoping the story really kind of focuses on them. Like, bring in Chris, that's cool. But
I know it's wild, Jones, to think that this will be the first time in a mainline series 7 to 8 same main character. It switches every time when we go to a mainline game.
Yeah.
2 in a row, like unprecedented.
Yeah. And it's technically not 8. I don't know whether they're being weird about that. They're like using 8, but not.
Yeah.
Naming can get kind of silly. I guess, you know what? I'm lying. There is one expectation that I have. Not that I need it to happen, but it just seems, just looking at the trailers, like, okay, this kind of seems like we're getting somewhere. Yeah. Just Mia not being gone. That like because you have these like vampire women, you know, who have like been around for a while, and then you got Mia and she's got the kid. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, she's been brought into this somehow, or Chris is harvesting the kid for them or something. Or like Mia's now dead, but now she's undead, and so now she has to care for the kid in the afterlife or something, you know, just like some sort of connection there of like, because it'd be weird to me if she's gone. She's like the opening cinema, and that's all right. Bye, voice actor. Like that seems bizarre. I think she would. Totally. There would be memories or dream sequences of her trying to communicate with Ethan, or that would be wild. She's like in your head, you know, like if she's, you know, she's trying to contact you, or you're getting letters from her, or interesting. I also don't get why Ethan like doesn't have a face. I don't understand what that's about.
They're keeping it hidden. They're keeping it hidden. Who knows? Because he's got to be the theories are that he has to be someone we know. Because why would they keep his face hidden? What is the point of keeping his face hidden unless he is someone? So then in my head, I'm like, okay, is Ethan just Hunk? But Hunk is a trained killer. Why would Ethan not?
Right.
But then my head starts spinning, Jones, because I'm thinking in Resident Evil 7, what if he was brainwashed into going to the Baker place to expose everything? They send in this person, you know, Ethan gets sent in to kind of expose and to make everything go down. Who knows? We're going to find out, though.
I wonder if it's like a Gordon Freeman situation where like Gordon doesn't talk so you feel like you're Gordon. Mm-hmm. You know, I wonder if they're like not giving him such an identity because it was such a shift for them to move it into first person, where they're like, well, you're Ethan, you know, like, and so it's not, we don't want them to have a strong identity. Say you're not his ethnicity, or you're a woman or whatever, you know, it's like we want you to feel like you're in that situation. So it's really just the weapon, and like there's not a lot of reflective surfaces. You don't see him in a mirror, you know. Yeah. So and it does kind of that detachment from the self is also scary, you know, like it, like 7 felt alone.
Totally,
you know?
and because playing as Jill, it's like, yo, we're Jill, dude, nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I started RE3. They're like, would you like to start RE3 with a gigantic machine gun? I'm like, yeah. Like, you played it on easy? I was like, hell yeah, I did. Like, that was awesome. The first hallway, just like, boom, 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 like, that was great. But it's just, it's the horror in 7 was so primal. It was so, you having these big sludge, like, what am I looking at? And having like that one scare of, you just go in the hallway and there's Granny in the wheelchair. I was like, oh,
Oh, that one got me good.
how did you get here? You know, and you hear her singing in the distance, and just like, I know I'm in the room with, you know, a villain, and I know where he is. I know his patterns. I know I'm safe. I'm still terrified. Like, I'm going back through this just to get stupid achievements. I'm still scared. Like, I hear him. Is that him? You know, like, and so it's like, you take just the house creakiness of 7, and like, you have that be like cold, wet stone and metal and, you know, dirt and, you know, tall
Just
grass
getting
and-
lost in the bowels of the castle is going to be.
Oh, not to mention next gen. You know, it's like we think we've seen it. You know, like you kind of get a glance now. You're like, oh, this looks really good. Like Resident Evil in like this gen, yeah. And like, no, man.
Once you
tell
boot that
like,
sucker up, 4K.
it's gonna be the prettiest Resident Evil we've ever seen by leaps and bounds. This
Yes.
is a series that's always kind of shown up on a particular console and been
Okay.
like, this is what you can look at. Hey, Nintendo GameCube, boom.
Boom. Yes, absolutely. All right, Jones, you're getting me hyped as hell. I got to cut you off, dude. That's
Yeah.
it. We're done. And that's going to do it for the episode. That was Resident Evil with the Allies, my all-time favorite thing. We are Easy Allies, and thank you so much for your generosity and support. The only reason we're here is because of you. You can find us on patreon.com/easyallies and help us out on there, or twitch.tv/easyallies. It is our 5th year anniversary this week, so for all the patrons that have been there since the beginning or since yesterday, thank you so much. Love and respect, and we'll see you next week.